thank the gentleman. Mr. Cole, isn't it true that Richard Pilger met with Lois Lerner back in 2010?
Yes, it is.
All right, and isn't it true that he got the information, this 1.1 million pages of information, in the format that he asked for it? The FBI wanted it in?
I think there was a request of several different forms it could come in, as I understand it, and we were asked to pick which one the FBI would prefer.
Lois Lerner said, we're checking with my folks on getting you the disk we spoke about. Incoming data regarding 501c4 issues. Does the FBI have a format preference? Mr. Pilger says the FBI says raw format is best because they can put it into their systems like Excel. So you got it. So Pilger meets with Lois Lerner. You guys asked for specific information. That's right? You guys asked for this data?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen an email specifically asking for it. I think all of that.
Well, it sure implies when you get it in the format you want, when you say, well, we'd like it in the Excel format, we'd like regarding 501c4. So, sure looks like you asked for it, and then you got the data, right?
My understanding is we did get the data, that the requests were made before the meeting,
well, here's
and
a
that
question.
the data was delivered.
Here's a question.
If
it's publicly available information, why'd you ask the IRS for it, and why'd you have to meet with Lois Lerner to get it?
I don't have an answer to that right now, other than maybe.
Well, that's an important point. We'd like an answer to that.
I can take that back and try and find it.
No, you're the one who said several times already it's public information, yet you had to go to Lois Lerner in the IRS and get it in the format you wanted. And Mr. Cummings says that's no big deal. And you had it for 4 years. You had this for 4 years, correct?
The information, the disks were in the possession of the FBI for
21 disks.
21 disks.
1.1 million pages.
I think that's correct.
And most importantly, it did contain 6103 information, correct?
We learned that on about the second.
I didn't ask when you learned it. I said it contained it, correct?
We learned it late that it contained it, yes.
Mr. Cummings just made this big deal out about this is no big deal. Well, in fact, it is. The Justice Department asked for information that you said is publicly available, but you go to Lois Lerner to get it. The Justice Department asked for information that you said is publicly available, but you go to Lois Lerner to get it. You get it in 2010 in the format you want it. It's 21 disks, 1.1 million pages. You say it's available publicly, but you don't get it publicly. You go get it from the IRS, and it contains confidential taxpayer donor information. All those are facts, correct?
They're not necessarily facts that are all linked together, though, Mr. Chairman.
They're all in the database.
Exist.
They're all in the database, correct? The IRS told us it was confidential. I didn't make that up, Chairman. I didn't make that up. The IRS told us it was confidential information in there.
There was no request at the time. I'm not even sure if the Justice Department requested the information or if the IRS offered it. I'm not sure how the idea of
when you get it in the format you asked for, it sure looks like you asked for it.
If I can finish, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure how the actual idea of providing that information to the Justice Department came up 4 years ago, but it was provided after the meeting.
Let's go to your testimony, your written testimony. You say in page 2 of the written testimony I got that there was a separate contact between this same lawyer, Mr. Pilger, and Ms. Lerner in 2013 in response to Senator Whitehouse comments in a Senate hearing looking at ways to bring a false statement action against the very groups who wound up being targeted by the IRS, right? Follow where I'm at in your testimony?
No, it has nothing to do with the groups targeted by the IRS. That's not correct.
Regarding false...
Whether or not false statement cases could be brought.
They're the same groups, trust me. And an attorney in the public's integrity section reached out to Ms. Lerner to discuss the issue, correct? I'm just reading your testimony. Ms. Lerner indicated that someone else from the IRS would follow up with the section, but that follow-up did not occur. Why didn't the follow-up occur?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. That would be...
Let me give you a reason why I think it might not have occurred. Because this correspondence, this meeting took place on May 8th, 2013. You know what happened 2 days later, Mr. Cole?
Yes, I do.
What happened 2 days later?
Ms. Lerner gave a speech at an ABA conference and talked about this issue.
Yeah, where she explained to the whole world that the IRS was caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and they, in fact, were targeting conservative groups. That's why the follow-up didn't occur. So 2 days before, the very lawyer who met with Lois Lerner in 2010 got the database in the format they wanted. 2 days before jump ahead 3 years later, 2 days before Ms. Lerner goes public, he's meeting with Ms. Lerner again and saying follow-up will take place, but the follow-up doesn't take place because Ms. Lerner goes public and says, you know what? Targeting did in fact happen. She tried with the planted question at a bar association speech, spin this in a way that blames good public servants in Cincinnati, which we know is false. And Mr. Cummings said that's no big deal, that you had all this information. Give me a break. One last question I have before I go to the next member. So John Koskinen told this committee just a week ago that he knew in April of this year that a substantial portion of Lois Lerner's emails were lost. And he waited 2 months to tell us, and he waited even longer to tell you. If a private citizen does something like that, under investigation, finds out they've lost important documents, and doesn't tell someone, that's a problem. So is it a big deal to you, Mr. Cole, and a big deal to the Justice Department that the head of the Internal Revenue Service waited 2 months to tell the United States Congress, 2 months to tell the American people, and most importantly, 2 months to tell the FBI and the Justice Department that they had lost Lois Lerner's emails?
This is a matter, obviously, we'd like to know about the loss of the email.
I'm asking, is it a big deal that he waited 2 months?
It depends on what the circumstances were behind it.
Circumstances were, he knew in April. He said that when I asked him questions just last week, he said he knew in April. And I asked him, why didn't you tell us? And but he waited 2 months.
I would like to know all the circumstances from him as to why there was the 2-month wait.
I would have liked to know right away as well.
Before I answer the question whether it's a big deal.
All right. Go to the gentlelady from Illinois.